Okay, well, thank you. I think this is actually a record for Six Nations on starting on time. we have a little res humor joke. It's called Indian time, but we're not running on Indian time today. So Scano, Sago, and welcome everyone to Six Nations of the Grand River Territory. We are so glad to be joined here today by the Premier of Ontario, Doug Ford, as well as our Deputy Prime Minister of Canada, Chrystia Freeland. Also joining us, our Minister of Indigenous Affairs, Greg Rickford, our Minister of Energy, Todd Smith, and as well, I believe in the crowd, we have Haldeman Mayor Bentley, as well as MPP Brady, and of course, all of our guests here today. With closing in on almost 30,000 members, Six Nations is the largest First Nation within Canada. We are also a very proud Haudenosaunee community and really only one in the Greater Toronto Area. We are also the largest Haudenosaunee jurisdiction in the country and the only territory home to all 6 Haudenosaunee nations. We are so excited here today for an important message from Premier Ford and the Government of Ontario that will benefit our community of Six Nations, but also all Ontarians. Six Nations is always happy to partner on projects that align with our culture values of respect of the land, as well as responsible stewardship of the environment. Today's announcement is one way in which we are doing our part to create a sustainable future, reducing emissions, as well as providing a reliable source of green energy for the benefit of all of our families. Our collaboration between Six Nations as well as the province of Ontario, and as Premier Ford is about to announce, will also bring socioeconomic benefits to our community and provide a boost to the well-being of our entire nation. We are delighted to have you here, and again, we are so excited that you are all here to join us. We have a lot to share at Six Nations, and I know Premier Ford, you're often saying Ontario is open for business. Well, Six Nations has been open for business. Thank you, Nyawa, and look forward to the discussion.
Hi, good morning, everybody. My name is Matt Jamieson. I'm the President and CEO of the Six Nations Development Corporation. Obviously, very happy to be here. This is a big milestone date for us. This is a project that we've been working on for a number of years with a great partner in NRStor, and we welcome today some new partners. But before I go too far, I just want to share a bit about the Development Corporation. Our guiding principles as a corporation, as an Indigenous corporation, are to promote the peace and well-being of our communities through investment activities that seek to enhance and contribute to a positive Mother Nature for the benefit of our future generations. We keep that in mind in all of the things that we do. And over the past number of years, the Development Corporation has been an active investor and contributor in the renewable energy space. We've participated in almost 1 gigawatt of renewable energy production, and we're quite proud of that. With that experience, though, we've also seen opportunities within the electrical system in Ontario. And it's incumbent upon us to find ways to unlock efficiencies, to create value, not just for Ontario ratepayers, which is obviously important, but our community, create socioeconomic benefit, as the Chief said, but also greenhouse gas reductions, and frankly, doing our part for our future generations. It's with great founding partners like NRStor, where we were able to take our knowledge and apply it to an energy sector to make the highest and best use of the things that we already have before we go and build more. And I think that that's part of a sustainable mindset moving forward. And as we seek to maximize this value, we know that it's going to contribute to a positive future for our future generations. I'm also extremely pleased to welcome a best-in-class partner in Northland, who is here today, as a new investor in the project, and also our existing partner, Aecon, who is a partner with us in the A6N joint venture, which interestingly enough will be the construction entity that will do a lot of the lifting in the field when this construction process starts. So today marks the day where we're not just an investor, we're actually a developer, an investor, and a constructor. And I think that signals our part of what we're doing for a more sustainable future, and it will lead us to achieving our goal of economic self-sufficiency. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Annette Verschuren, and I am the CEO and Chair of NRStor, this amazing little company that really started this project with the most important partner we've ever had, Six Nations of the Grand River. Chief Hill, thank you for this opportunity. This is a project that is long-term, we believed in. We've been at it for many, many years, and we're just absolutely delighted to work with all of you. This project has gone through a pandemic, gone through a supply chain crisis, gone through lithium prices up 600%, gone through contract renegotiations, gone through the creation of an unsolicited proposal process. It's been a journey. Since 2018, we've been working with Six Nations of the Grand River, the Canada Infrastructure Bank, NRCan, with ACON, and now with Northland Power. It's been one of those projects that we thought would never end. We had a bit of project fatigue. I know everybody did, including all the government people on this project, but boy, what a result today. What a result we have. NRStor is so proud to bring the Oneida Energy Storage Project to Haldimand County and to Ontario and to Canada, and we're honored to do so alongside our valued partners. I want to call out the Deputy Prime Minister Freeland, who this project we talked about years ago, and the opportunity here. I want to call out the Premier, who had the courage to go forward with this project in times when there were no market. We had to develop this market. There was no market. Poor Leslie Gallinger and others really, worked with us to develop this market, and we did. We created a market for energy storage, first capacity market created in the last 10 years in Ontario. And it's just really absolutely exciting to see all of you here. To the Premier, I love your overall strategy, recognizing that energy storage battery technology is important as a critical mineral opportunity for Ontario and Canada, for the automobile industry. This is absolutely such a smart strategy to create a market here, to bring in battery supply companies, to bring in automotive companies, to really build and grow. Electrification's happening, the transition's happening. This is all about jobs and job creation and job opportunity. And we are doing it, and I just want to say, Matt, we dreamed of this moment, and we're here 4 years ago, 5 years ago. So I want to say thank you to everybody. My NRStor team, you're just the best people in the world. I love you. And I want to say thank you for this opportunity, and we promise the federal government and provincial government we're going to build this on time, on schedule. I also want to call out Tesla. Thank you very much for your support, and I just want to say, Jesus, this is exciting. Yes. One other thing I want to say to Minister Rickford and to Minister Smith, you two were the guys that got all this going. You found a way to get it done with us, and so I want to say thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, Chief Hill, thanks so much for having us today, and thanks for your leadership in making this project possible. Northland Power has been around for about 35 years. The company got started building gas-fired and biomass-fired power projects in Northern Ontario, providing reliable energy to industry and to citizens up in that part of the province. Fast forward a few more years, Northland was building wind power projects in Quebec, a few more years building wind and solar projects in Ontario. And all of these opportunities that Ontario and that Canada offered Northland to grow enabled us to grow globally. And the company grew developing offshore wind projects, building offshore wind projects in Europe, now building them and developing them in Asia, operating power projects in Latin America, United States as well. And we have, over the years, been at the forefront of the energy transition at what was the next great technology that was going to take the world forward, that was going to provide clean, reliable energy to the globe, which is why it makes so much sense that we're now coming back to Canada, coming back to Ontario, as Ontario is at the forefront of the energy transition, at the forefront of the next big technology, building the biggest battery storage project in Canada, one of the biggest in the world. And it would not have been possible without the leadership from the Ontario government, Premier Ford, Minister Smith, from the federal government's involvement, Deputy Prime Minister Freeland, and of course it wouldn't have been possible without the entrepreneurial drive and the rigor of NRStor, of Six Nations of the Grand River Economic Development Corporation, and of AECON leading in. We were just talking before, 2018 I think, you all started working together, and now this project is happening. It is truly a great success story, and Northland is so proud to be part of this and so excited to see this project happen. Thank you very much.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Mike. I'd like to start by acknowledging that we're gathered on the ancestral lands of the Six Nations of the Grand River and the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. I'd like to thank Chief Hill, Matt, Annette, Mike for the warm welcome, and I am really glad to be here with my friend, Premier Ford. I'm seeing him for the second time this week, and with Ontario Energy Minister Todd Smith for this exciting announcement. You know, today, this announcement, this project, this really is the best of Canada. This is about Canada today, and this is about Canada's future. This is about Indigenous prosperity, Indigenous people taking control of their lives and their economy. It's about Canada's clean economy future and our clean economy present and the jobs that we are creating today and for the future, because that's where the world is going, and Canada is going to get its share of those jobs. This is about collaboration between the private sector, 3 great companies here, and the public sector. And it's about collaboration between the federal government and a great provincial government that is a very important partner for us. So, you know, I'm sure everybody has their moments when they're worried. They're worried about things today, and things are really uncertain in the world economy, and things are tough for a lot of families around their kitchen tables. And I think people are concerned about the future and where things are going. And so I really want people to think about this specific announcement today, because I think you can see in it the best of our country and how we are able to work together to build something even better. So that's why I'm here. I'm very excited. Okay, les 3 dernières années ont vraiment montré que nous sommes meilleurs lorsque nous travaillons ensemble pour servir les Canadiens. Nous l'avons vu avec la remarquable relance économique du Canada après la récession qui a suivi la pandémie. L'FMI prévoit que le Canada connaîtra la plus forte croissance économique du G7 au 4e trimestre de cette année. 800,000 more Canadians have jobs today than they did before COVID hit. Canada has recovered 126% of the jobs lost to COVID, and that compares to 112% in the U.S. It has been a remarkable jobs recovery. that recovery has been driven by the hard work of Canadians, by the hard work of amazing people who are here today, and it's also been driven by effective collaboration by governments across the country. One example of that is childcare. In part, as a result of the agreements we signed with every single province and territory, absolutely including Ontario, on early learning and childcare, the labour force participation rate for Canadian women in their prime working years is today at a record 85.6%. That is huge. That is one of the things driving our economy forward. That is one of the answers to the labour shortages that I'm sure if you want to interview the private sector people here, they will tell you about. So this work really is about jobs, 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 as Annette so eloquently said. We saw how effective collaboration between all levels of government can be for improving the lives of Canadians earlier this week, when we came together, the federal government, provinces and territories, to strengthen Canada's universal, publicly funded healthcare system, with a federal investment of more than $198 billion over the next 10 years. This is significant funding to address the crisis in our emergency rooms, operating rooms, and pediatric hospitals, to provide better access to family doctors and mental health care services. And as part of that plan, very critically, we announced $2 billion to support Indigenous communities as they invest in the health of their people. And in fact, Chief Hill very appropriately did not miss the opportunity to talk to me about that just this morning. Better health data and better outcomes for people here in Ontario and across the country. Now, I want to acknowledge today that Premier Ford has been an important partner for the federal government in our conversations about this essential challenge from the very beginning, and I know our governments will continue to work together to get this over the finish line. I'm told he may have smoked a cigar or two with my colleague Dominic LeBlanc was it Wednesday night? Yeah, Wednesday night. When I say that we as Canadians are at our best when we work together, that's not some political bromide. That's not some hopeful assertion. That is the reality. And today is a fantastic example of that. Working in partnership, Canada, Ontario, 6 nations of the Grand River, NRStor, Northland, and Ohsweken, we are building the largest battery storage project in Canada and one of the largest in the whole world. The future is right here. It's right there. It's being built right now. So I am proud to announce today that the Government of Canada is making this project possible with $50 million in funding from our Smart Renewables and Electrification Pathways program, and that is on top of $170 million in funding from the Canada Infrastructure Bank. This project is going to help create great jobs for people in Ontario. It will store and supply the clean electricity that our province needs, and it will help create economic opportunities for Indigenous communities like 6 Nations. And I really want to recognize Chief Hill and 6 Nations for their leadership. Reconciliation is a priority for our government. You know, I think it's a priority for all Canadians. I think we recognize that this is, Canada's an amazing country, but we have an original sin, and reconciliation is the path forward. And I absolutely believe that Indigenous prosperity built through projects like this one is an essential part of the path to reconciliation. So thank you very much for your hard work, and thanks to everyone here for the hard work on that. Ce type de projet est ce que le Canada aura besoin dans les années à venir et notre gouvernement veut travailler avec le Premier ministre Ford et son équipe pour aider à bâtir une économie plus forte et plus durable ici en Ontario. La transition mondiale vers la carboneutralité constitue la plus importante transformation économique depuis la révolution industrielle elle-même. Le Canada se trouve devant une occasion qui se présente une seule fois par génération, celle d'investir dans une économie propre du 21e siècle, une économie qui peut créer plus de bons emplois et bâtir des communautés plus prospères et plus dynamiques d'une nation à l'autre. Whether it's critical minerals or batteries, or electric vehicles, we need to ensure that we as a country seize these historic opportunities, this historic moment, and secure Canada's and Ontario's place in the clean economy the world is building today. There is a window open right now, and we have a choice. Do we jump through that window? Do we seize that opportunity? Or do we get left behind? And I can tell you what our government is committed to, and pretty sure you're going to hear that Premier Ford's committed as well. Seizing this opportunity will be one of our government's primary focuses this year. And we know that we can't do it alone. We need partners like the partners you see here today. This is a time of real fiscal constraint at the federal level. The federal government provided 8 out of every $10 to support Canadians and the Canadian economy during the pandemic, and our ability to spend is not infinite. Like our investment in healthcare, our response to the Inflation Reduction Act, and our broader investments in Canada's clean economy are historic imperatives. We must act, and we know it. And like strengthening our healthcare system, this must be a Team Canada effort. So, as I discussed with my provincial and territorial counterparts at the Finance Ministers meeting in Toronto exactly a week ago, we are looking forward to working with the provinces and territories to invest alongside the federal government as we build a thriving 21st century Canadian economy. Just as we have so often worked together over the past 3 years, as we were sitting at a table, well, I wasn't actually at the table, I was at a row behind, but as the First Ministers were sitting at a table in Ottawa on Tuesday, I am looking forward to continuing to working with Premier Ford. Our government is looking forward to continuing to work with Premier Ford and his government to grow our economy and create great jobs for people across Ontario and across Canada. Merci beaucoup. Thank you. Miigwech.
Oh, sorry, Smitty. I'll be short and sweet. How about that? Good morning, everyone. Deputy Prime Minister Freeland, great to see you. Thanks for being here this morning, and pass along my best wishes to your cabinet colleague, Minister Wilkinson, as well. It's been great to work with him, and it's great to be here today with all of you, and I'd like to say a special thanks to Chief Hill for welcoming us here to the gathering place. Beautiful building. Minister Freeland, I'm pleased to be able to make this announcement together as we continue to build out Ontario's world-class clean electricity system. This work is critically important because over the past 4 years, Premier Ford and our government have created an environment that's attracting jobs and investment. And as Ontario's population continues to grow and investments continue to happen, we're implementing our plan to meet the rising demand for reliable, affordable, and clean energy for our province. We're increasing funding by $342 million for energy efficiency programs. We're helping families save on their energy bills while reducing demand. We're supporting OPG's continued safe operation of the Pickering Nuclear Generating Station. And just a couple of months ago, we broke ground on Canada's first grid-scale small modular nuclear reactor at Darlington, which was another exciting day for our province. And we're competitively procuring 4,000 megawatts of new electricity generation and storage. Today, I'm excited to be here with Premier Ford, Minister Freeland, our partners from Six Nations of the Grand River, NRStor and Northland Power, along with my cabinet colleague, Minister Rickford, who really got the ball rolling on this project with our government, and our very tall MPP for Brant, and our caucus chair, Will Bauma. We're here to talk about the next step in our plan. And with that, I will pass it over to the Premier of Ontario, Premier Ford.
Well, first of all, good morning, everyone, and thanks, Todd. We call him Smitty down at Queen's Park, so Minister Smith, thank you. But thank you to Chief Mark Hill for welcoming us to Six Nations and the Grand River. And I always say about Chief Hill, he's he's a progressive thinker. He's pragmatic. He thinks outside the box. He's a true entrepreneur and really benefits Six Nations. So thank you, Chief. I appreciate everything that you do day in and day out. And it's great to be here alongside, again, Minister Smith and Rickford and local champion Will Bauma, who never stops working for the people of Brantford, Brant. And thank you, Will. I also want to welcome our project partners from Six Nations and the Grand River, from NRStor, Northland Power, Aecon, Tesla, and of course, my very good friend, Deputy Prime Minister and Federal Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland, and I'm so happy to see you once again. You know, when Chrystia and I get together over the years and we talk, and as you were saying, Deputy Prime Minister, things happen. Billions, tens of billions of dollars get moving forward, no matter if it's the economy or healthcare or daycare or, building electric vehicles or building the largest transit project. And it's just amazing. When you work collaboratively and you cooperate together, it's really, really stunning. And I know you were mentioning the jobs, Chrystia. The numbers came out today, and I'll speak for Ontario. Because of the cooperation with the federal government, municipal governments, the private sector, First Nations communities right across this province, another 60,000 jobs were created this month, 62,000, I think, 40,000 last month. Just think, in 2 months, 102,000 jobs were created from the people. Not our government, not anyone's government, but we create the climate and the conditions for companies to come here with the cooperation of the federal government. I couldn't be happier for that. So my friends, Ontario is growing in tough economic times around the world, but we're kicking butt right now, which is a good thing. Every year, more businesses see the promise that Ontario holds. They're investing, they're creating jobs, and putting down roots right here. And as our communities grow, as our economy grows, we need to find ways to meet the increasing demand of power. When these big, massive companies come here, we need the power, the energy, and I know they mentioned, they said Premier Ford a few times. It wasn't me. The truth of the matter was the ministers, Minister Smith, Minister Rickford, and the private sector. That's who makes it happen. So again, guys and Chief, thank you. It's that group that made this happen after a long time. And Annette, I love how passionate you are. And he even got emotional because you've been working on this project for forever with our other private sector partners. We also need to make sure that Ontario's power supply remains safe, reliable, and cost competitive. And as we continue to compete for global investments in our economy, we need to continue to find ways to keep our energy supply clean and green so we can strengthen the Ontario advantage. Previous governments didn't do this. They didn't invest in the future, and everyone paid for their bad decisions. They let energy costs skyrocket, chasing businesses and jobs from the province. But those days are gone. They're done. Our government has a plan to build Ontario and to provide people and businesses in this province with affordable, reliable, and clean energy. We're expanding energy efficiency programs, saving families and businesses money. We've extended the life of the Pickering nuclear facility until the end of 2026, which will reduce emissions, and these are great numbers. It will reduce emissions by 2.1 million tons. It's equivalent to taking 643,000 cars off the road. And I always tell my team in policy and the people that write the speeches, they said, you know, X amount of tons. I said, people don't understand tons, neither do I all the time, but when you describe it as 643,000 cars off the road, that's staggering. And we've asked Ontario Power Generation to look into refurbishing Pickering Nuclear, which is going to be great, so it can provide the province with clean, reliable, and cost-effective energy for decades to come. In December, we broke ground on Canada's first small modular reactor at Darlington's nuclear site. Ontario is leading the world in the development of SMRs, boosting our supply of clean and affordable energy and giving us a competitive edge as we build our economy. But as our population grows, as our economy grows, we need more energy and electricity. We must do more to keep up with the growing demand. That's why I'm so thrilled to be here today with our First Nations, businesses, and federal government partners to celebrate the largest electricity storage project in Canada, as you heard, and one of the largest in the entire world. Once online in 2025, this project, the Oneida Energy Storage Project, will store up to 250 megawatts of electricity in lithium batteries during off-peak hours when demand is low, and release it to our electricity grid when it's needed. It will more than double our province's energy storage resources and will provide enough electricity to power a city approximately the size of Oshawa. And I'm pleased to announce that our government has directed Ontario's electricity system operator to enter into a 20-year contract with Oneida Energy Storage Project so that this new facility will support our clean electricity system for years to come. And it's so exciting. This solution, the Oneida Energy Storage Project, is also another great example of the Team Ontario, Team Canada spirit at work. When business, all levels of government, and First Nations come together, there's nothing we can't get done because our population is growing by 300,000 people every year as Ontario secures game-changing investments in our economy and as we become a world leader in the electric vehicle and the batteries of the future. We have to be innovative and we have to be bold to meet our energy needs. We're powering the future of Ontario. We're powering the future of our economy. Thank you again for joining us today, and congratulations to everyone involved in this trailblazing project. Thank you, and may God bless the people of Ontario. Thank you. Okay.
We'll now go to the floor for questions. If reporters could please line up with the microphone behind me. Please identify yourselves by name and outlet. And just a reminder, it's one question and one follow-up. First question.
Hello, my name is Lisa. I'm with Turtle Island News. And the question I had is how will this project benefit the Indigenous community here?
Well, Mark, Chief, I should say, Chief Hill, do you want to answer how it's going to benefit the community? Or, yeah. Yeah.
You know what? Just before I answer that question, I want to give a big shout out to our CEO, Matt Jamieson, of our development corporation. He works tremendously hard for our community in building, what our future looks like in the business world, and really want to, again, just say nyawa to Matt. But to answer your question, again, Matt can get into the details specifically, but it's all about collaboration in my view, and it's all about creation of jobs, and that's something that we want to build upon for our community and look at ways that we can incorporate our current services and training opportunities so that we can, again, build upon not just Ontario and Canada, but as well as Six Nations of the Grand River. So I'll let Matt also continue to finish the question.
Sure. So the project itself, as I mentioned in my remarks, Not only are we an investor in the project, which means that there's going to be an economic return, those economic returns will go a long way to help plug things that are important to our community. Like right now, we are facing a $1.6 billion infrastructure gap in our community. We can't wait for funding for federal transfer payments. We need to take control of our destiny, and this is one example of how we can do that. So the investment returns are part of it, but also as a constructor in our partnership with AECON through A6N joint venture, we're going to put our people to work. The A6N joint venture has put $50 million in payroll in our community since we started that joint venture, and it has a 97% Indigenous workforce. And so we're very proud that not only are we developing this partnership, we're investing in it, but we're actually going to be constructing it. And building that kind of capacity leads to a really great future for our people who go through those skills, training, and learning so that we can continue to do these things and leverage that skill set over and over again. You combine those things together, you have a great socioeconomic impact for a community that really needs it. And I think it speaks as an example that we're doing our part to create value, not just for our community, but there's also value for the ratepayers. And our community members are ratepayers, so if we can save the grid, the ratepayers' money, that means that we're saving our homeowners' money here as well.
I just want to add one last piece. I know I always get that opportunity, and again, we had an opportunity to have a chat with the Deputy Prime Minister, and I think the ways of trying to build multiple avenues of revenue for Six Nations, one of those in which I know I'm going to be following up with your office, and thank you for that contact of, I'm going to continue to say this loud and clear, we have one company that pays the federal government in excise taxes this year, I believe almost up to $250 million to $300 million that goes to the federal government in excise taxes that need to start to come back to our community. We have a long list, as Matt has mentioned, a long list of needs in terms of our infrastructure gap and so forth. And so we at Six Nations are looking for creative ways and solutions, and we can't wait to get into discussions of what those could potentially look like. Nyawa.
Yeah, Matt, Matt's a smart guy, champion. He is.
Hello, Premier. It's Linda Powell from Turtle Island News. Just a quick question on this wonderful project that's taking place today. What role is the Confederacy, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy Council, playing here, and are you in any negotiations with them right now about similar projects? As you know, our community has two governing bodies.
That's it. So, Chief Rickford, Minister Rickford, where the Minister? Do you want to come forward? And great Minister of Indigenous Affairs.
Yeah, thanks. We work very closely with Chief Hill, and we look forward to the community, as has been expressed to us in no uncertain terms, making its representations that reflect the opportunities from every member of this community. So we're going to continue to act in that manner, and I'm looking forward to creating greater certainty across throughout the Haldimand Tract for projects like this to be able to proceed, and I think today is a shining example of how that can be done.
Are you in any talks with the Confederacy on projects, similar projects?
We worked with the partners from the outset on this project here, and worked very closely with the Economic Development Institute, which works through the project mechanics over the course of time. Excuse me. Oh, sorry about that.
I just wanted to make a couple comments, and again, Yawa, for your question, Linda. I think at the end of the day, what we have to do, and what we know we have to do at Six Nations, is we have to figure out our own internal affairs and what that looks like. I think we need to, for once and for all, get in one room and figure out how our community is going to be inclusive to the current diversity. We know we're very large and we're continuing to grow. And so those, opportunities that we have, there's been every opportunity for the Confederacy to join in through the engagement process through this project. Again, it's not like it was just started last night. It's been a number of years into the making. And again, have the utmost respect for our hereditary council, our chiefs and clan mothers. And again, we'll be looking at ways on how we could further build our relationships, because it's for our people at the end of the day. Yeah.
Sean O'Shea with Global News. I have a question for the Premier. Premier, last summer there was a stag and doe that took place at your home in Toronto, a fundraiser for your daughter, according to reports that we developed. I'm wondering, there were people at that home of yours who were developers who were asked to make sizable contributions. One source told us that that amount was $1,000 and that it was, quote, dodgy. I'm wondering whether you'd be prepared to disclose which developers were at your home for that fundraiser and how you assure the people of Ontario that you can put your personal life and public policy apart and that one has nothing to do with the other.
Yeah, Sean, well, you know something, my daughter's number one and her husband, which is a police officer, is private citizens. I know the difference of what we should and shouldn't do. Our family's been in politics for 30 years. We know tens of thousands of people. And, you know, I went to the Integrity Commissioner. He cleared it 1,000%, not 999, 1,000%. But it's really personal. And, you know, this is my daughter's wedding. And I think that's the first time that's ever come out in Canadian history, someone asking about someone's daughter's wedding. But anyways, it's cleared with the Integrity Commissioner.
One follow-up then, Premier. The reality is, though, that since the election, you've changed your position on development of the Greenbelt. There were developers there, according to the sources. And is it not a reasonable question to find out if there's nothing to hide, why won't you say who was in attendance when people were asked to contribute money to that event?
Yeah, well, first of all, it was cleared by the Integrity Commissioner. I'm going to address this Greenbelt for the thousandth time. Number one, Sean, I didn't hear any media under the previous government when they changed it 17 times. We increased the Greenbelt. Since I've been elected, the Greenbelt is 2,000 acres larger than previously done. This property is owned privately, not by the province or anything. We have a housing crisis. And when they changed it, the previous government 17 times and no one said a word, we didn't have a housing crisis. We have a housing crisis. As you heard in my speech, over 300,000 people are coming to our province. We need to build homes. And these existing projects, they have the criteria. They're right butt up against an existing community. So you have a community on one side of the street. On the other side of the street, there's an open field. And so we need homes. We're going to build homes. We need to build 1.5 million homes. Our economy is growing rapidly. We're short 380,000 people to fill these jobs. And we're going to do everything we can to continue building homes. But I just want to remind everyone, the Greenbelt is larger under our administration than any time in the history of this province by over 2,000 acres. I think it's probably 2,500 acres. And we'll make sure the Greenbelt's always larger. But thank you for the question.
Hi, Premier. Mike Crawley from CBC News, not to be confused with Mike Crawley from Northland Power. So, Premier, you keep mentioning that the Integrity Commissioner cleared you of this, but you didn't go to the Integrity Commissioner until about 5 months after the event happened. So, why did you take that long to go? And how are people supposed to believe that you weren't aware of the donations that were being given to your daughter by these developers?
Thank you for the question again. Let me paint it this way, Mike. You know, I'm sure you two have kids. Nothing is more personal and private than your family. And going to a stag is not unusual for anyone listening, you know, but more importantly, this is something very private and personal to our family. And by the way, you know, he's a police officer. There was endless amounts of police officers. Is there a conflict that we give billions of dollars to police agencies and services around the province? No. You know, this is nothing, in my opinion, that should involve my daughter that is just not involved in politics. So I appreciate you keep asking, but anyways, it's a private family situation, and that's all it is. And by the way, I have 2 more weddings coming up too, so we'll give you the list after that too. It's ridiculous. This is ridiculous, to be frank with you. But anyways, we're here to celebrate Oneida Energy Project, one of the largest in Canada, one of the largest in the world. And I just want to apologize to the chief for these questions. But go ahead.
Premier, if this was a private, personal event, as you refer to it, why were lobbyists being invited to it and asked to make donations?
Well, again, Mike, we have a family that's been in politics for over 30 years. We know tens of thousands of people. People have known for 30 years. I don't look down the checklist. We have an open door policy at our home. I think you've been there. Other people have been there. When we have an event, I don't ask for a list of names. When we have Ford Fest and 6,000 people show up to our house over a 5-hour period, I don't sit at the door with a metal detector and start checking names. Everyone's welcome to the Ford family home anytime we have an event. But again, thanks for the question.
Hi, Premier. Laura Stone, Globe and Mail.
Hi, Laura.
Can you disclose to Ontarians which developers you are personally friends with?
Wow, you know something? Okay, so I know hundreds of developers. I know hundreds of private sector folks. I know hundreds of healthcare workers and police officers. And I believe in growing the province. I believe in getting builders here. Just imagine if we didn't have builders that go out and build homes and build businesses and build infrastructure, we wouldn't be in the spot we are in Ontario.
Okay, thank you. On the healthcare front, you have a meeting with your fellow premiers on Monday. Yesterday you said Ontario is very close to a deal, but you have to seek approval from the premiers. What is your message going to be on Monday? Is it going to be take the deal? And I'm hoping to hear from the Deputy Prime Minister as well on this. Is her message to the premiers, there is no other agreement coming, take the deal?
Well, you want to talk about true leadership, you talk about the Deputy Prime Minister that is there working with all the premiers, the provinces and the territories, and everyone. I can assure you, all the premiers love Chrystia Freeland. I just love her a little more than the rest of the premiers. But in saying that, we've sat down and we're working hard together, not only the Deputy Prime Minister, the Prime Minister, along with Minister LeBlanc and Minister Legault. We've sat down and had great conversations yesterday. And our goal, all of us, is just to get a great deal that has certainty and we can sustain it after year 10 and beyond. But we'll get there, and we'll have a great system, healthcare system, right across this great country, because everyone is working together and in cooperation and working collaboratively together. Yes.
Yeah, look, I don't have that much to add to what the Premier has said. You've just heard from him, and I've heard directly from Ministers LeBlanc and Duclos that they had a very good meeting with Premier Ford. Ministers Duclos and LeBlanc are now going to be traveling around the country and meeting with provincial and territorial leaders. From the federal perspective, from my perspective, it was a very positive, really important meeting that we had on Tuesday. The federal government put a lot of money on the table, and what we're focused on right now is what I think Premier Ford is focused on. I'm not going to put words in his mouth, but I think you've just heard this from him, and what Canadians are focused on, which is rolling up our sleeves and getting great healthcare outcomes for Canadians. Canada is investing significantly. Provinces and territories are and will continue to be investing significantly in our healthcare system. But I think what Canadians really care about, the Prime Minister on Tuesday emphasized the $198 billion from the federal government. I'm the Finance Minister. The numbers matter to me, and I need to be thoughtful also about the other significant investments we need to make. We've been talking with Team Ontario today about the clean economy, about electrification. We need to be able to be there. What I think Canadians really care about, though, from the healthcare discussion is people just want better healthcare. People want to be able to call up a family doctor, have a family doctor, and see their family doctor when they need to. People want to be able to get surgery when they need it. And so I really believe that what we need to focus on, and what we are focusing on, is working collaboratively to get those good outcomes. And I'm really confident, what you've heard from the Premier is something that maybe doesn't make great headlines. I used to be a reporter, and peace breaks out in Canada, maybe not the greatest headline. But I think what you saw this week on Tuesday, what you're seeing today with this really important announcement, an announcement about our clean energy future, an announcement about jobs in Ontario, an announcement crucially about Indigenous prosperity, is Canada is a country, Ontario is a province where we know how to work together and where we recognize that when we work together, when we set aside our partisan affiliations and differences, we can really do great things for the people. That's what we're focused on with healthcare. That's what we're focused on with electricity. That's what we're focused on with reconciliation. And I do hope, guys, if I could just say a very personal thing, this is such an important moment for Chief Hill. This is such an important moment for Six Nations of the Grand River. And I hope people will pay some attention to the really groundbreaking work that Indigenous leaders have been doing and that they are announcing with such really earned pride today. Thank you.
This will be the last question.
Hi there, Candice Miracle, CBC Indigenous. This is a question for the Deputy Prime Minister. You mentioned Indigenous prosperity as essential for reconciliation. What about the other priorities in this community, like land back and clean drinking water, language revitalization?
Those are, of course, priorities as well. And, as Chief Hill mentioned, he raised a number of other issues in a brief conversation with me, but he's a very effective guy. He managed to get a lot of issues in there. And look, I do want to say, I think today is a real milestone, and I think we owe it to the people of the Six Nations of the Grand River to celebrate with them and congratulate them. But speaking for the federal government, it's also important to acknowledge that there is so much work still to do when it comes to reconciliation. I am very, very aware of that. This is a priority for our government. It is a priority for the Prime Minister. And I'm proud and glad to be part of a government that has taken some meaningful steps. I'm even more grateful to Indigenous people in Canada and to Indigenous leadership for being there to take the steps with us and to teach us about the steps that need to be taken. But your question is very important, and I do think it's important for all of us, even as we celebrate the progress, to recognize there is still so much we need to do and a very long path ahead.
Do you have a time frame for any of that aforementioned priorities in this community?
That's a whole separate conversation, but I do want to assure you that it's something we're very committed to. It is something that the leadership is very committed to. We're committed to working also with the province of Ontario, and happy to continue the conversation also with my colleagues, Minister Miller, Minister Haidu, who work on this every day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. Another great project. Thank you.